Think you need to water every day? You've been gardening backwards your entire life, and the commercial gardening industry loves it. Every problem you're fighting, dry soil, nutrient deficiency, pest invasions, is a symptom of growing plants in isolation instead of understanding how they're designed to work as interconnected communities. For centuries, the Three Sisters method fed the Haudenosaunee nation using corn, beans, and squash planted together in ways that eliminated most of the work modern gardeners do manually. No daily watering, no fertilizer inputs, no pest control needed. Just observe how plants behave in natural communities and design your food production around those relationships instead of against them. You're watering every single day because your garden can't hold moisture for more than 12 hours. You're buying new plants every season because half of them died over winter despite your best efforts. You're spending weekends pulling weeds that seem to grow faster than your vegetables. You're applying fertilizer monthly because your soil is basically inert dirt that grows nothing without constant feeding. You're spraying for pests every week because your garden has become a buffet for every insect problem in the neighborhood. Here's what nobody at the garden center will tell you. The problem isn't your effort, your knowledge, or your green thumb. The problem is that you're gardening backwards. You're treating plants like isolated patients in a hospital ward instead of understanding that they're designed to work as cooperative communities. You're fighting natural systems instead of designing with them. You're buying solutions to problems that proper plant relationships prevent from happening in the first place. Think about it. For over 1,000 years, indigenous farmers across every continent fed entire civilizations using methods that required less work each year, not more. They didn't have garden centers, daily watering schedules, or pest spray. What they had was something we've completely forgotten. The understanding that when you plant the right species together, they form symbiotic relationships that handle most of the work automatically. Meanwhile, the Haudenosaunee were growing abundant food using the Three Sisters method centuries before Europeans arrived with their intervention-based agriculture. Corn, beans, and squash planted together in the same space, each species supporting the others in ways that eliminated most of the problems modern gardeners fight every weekend. But here's the part that will change how you think about gardening forever. This wasn't just companion planting. This was systems engineering at its most sophisticated. The corn provided a natural trellis for the beans to climb, eliminating the need for stakes or cages. The beans fixed nitrogen from the air through specialized bacteria in their root nodules and fed it directly to the corn and squash through underground fungal networks. The squash spread across the ground with large leaves that shaded out weeds and retained soil moisture, eliminating the need for daily watering and constant weeding. No pest sprays needed because the diversity confused harmful insects and attracted beneficial ones that provided natural pest control. But here's what most people miss about the Three Sisters system. The corn isn't just providing physical support for the beans. The corn roots secrete specific compounds that actually stimulate the nitrogen-fixing bacteria in the bean root nodules to work more efficiently. Meanwhile, the beans are pumping nitrogen directly into the soil where the corn and squash roots can access it immediately. The squash isn't just covering the ground. Those large leaves are creating a humid microclimate underneath that helps the corn and bean roots stay cool and moist during hot weather. This is systems thinking applied to food production. They observed how plants behaved in natural communities and designed agriculture around those relationships instead of against them. No fertilizer needed because the beans were literally pulling nitrogen out of the air and depositing it in the soil. No daily watering needed because the squash leaves created a living mulch that captured dew and prevented evaporation. No pest management needed because the diversity provided habitat for beneficial insects while confusing the harmful ones. This might shock you, but polyculture systems actually produce more food per square foot than monoculture rows, while requiring dramatically less maintenance. When you plant multiple species together in the same space, they create what ecologists call facilitation relationships. Each plant provides something the others need, while getting something back in return. It's not competition, it's cooperation at the cellular level. Here's what most people miss about companion planting. The basil growing with your tomatoes isn't just repelling harmful insects. It's also attracting beneficial predatory insects that hunt the pests trying to attack your other plants. The marigolds scattered through your vegetable beds are releasing chemicals from their roots that kill harmful nematodes in the soil, while their flowers provide nectar for parasitic wasps that control aphids and caterpillars. Meanwhile, the diversity itself becomes a pest management system, because insects that specialize in attacking specific crops have trouble finding their target plants when they're mixed with other species, instead of planted in neat, obvious rows. But here's where polyculture design gets really interesting. You can stack these relationships vertically and horizontally to maximize every cubic foot of growing space. Plant tall corn or sunflowers as the canopy layer. Train pole beans or cucumbers up them for the climbing layer. Grow tomatoes, peppers, or eggplant as the shrub layer. Fill the ground level with lettuce, herbs, and root vegetables. Let strawberries or nasturtiums sprawl as the ground cover layer. Each layer occupies different vertical space while contributing different functions to the whole system. Think about it. In nature, you never see monocultures. You see diverse plant communities, where each species fills a different ecological niche and contributes to the stability of the whole system. When you copy this pattern in your food garden, you're not just growing individual plants, you're creating a functional ecosystem that manages itself. The nitrogen fixers like beans, peas, and clover are constantly feeding the heavy feeders like corn, tomatoes, and squash. The deep-rooted plants like comfrey and dandelions are mining nutrients from the subsoil and bringing them up to the surface where shallow-rooted plants can access them. The aromatic herbs are providing pest control and beneficial insect habitat while producing food for your kitchen. The ground covers are living mulch that eliminates most weeding and reduces watering needs by up to 70%. Here's the reality most people miss. When you understand plant relationships, your garden starts managing itself. You stop being a daily intervention specialist and become a designer who sets up systems that work without you. The plants are doing the pest control through diversity and beneficial insect habitat. The plants are doing the fertilizing through nitrogen fixation and deep root mining of nutrients. The plants are doing the watering through ground cover and microclimate creation. But here's the part that will change how you think about garden maintenance forever. In a well-designed polyculture system, the plants start doing the work you used to do manually. Most modern gardeners are stuck in the monoculture mindset because that's what the commercial agriculture system teaches us. Neat rows, single species, heavy inputs, constant management. But polyculture thinking flips the entire approach. Instead of fighting natural processes, you design with them. Instead of simplifying the system, you increase its complexity in ways that make it more stable. Now let's talk about water. Your daily watering routine is actually training your plants to be dependent and weak. When you water frequently with small amounts, plant roots stay shallow near the surface instead of developing deep root systems that can access moisture and nutrients from lower soil layers. Meanwhile, polyculture systems create their own water management through what ecologists call passive water harvesting and retention. Here's the reality about how plants actually want to receive water. In nature, plants get deep, infrequent watering from rainfall, followed by periods of soil moisture retention through ground cover and root diversity. When you copy this pattern, your plants develop extensive root systems that make them drought-resistant and nutrient-efficient. The deep roots of perennial plants like comfrey create channels that help rainwater penetrate into the subsoil instead of running off the surface. The shallow, fibrous roots of annual vegetables spread out horizontally to capture moisture from light rains and dew. But here's where polyculture water management gets really sophisticated. Different plants have different root depths and water needs, so when you combine them strategically, they're accessing moisture from different soil layers without competing with each other. The deep-rooted plants are bringing up water and nutrients from the subsoil and sharing them with shallow-rooted neighbors through mycorrhizal fungal networks that connect plant roots underground. This is where it gets interesting. The ground cover plants in your polyculture system are functioning as living mulch that captures dew and light rainfall while preventing evaporation from the soil surface. Strawberry plants, thyme, oregano, and other spreading herbs create a continuous mat of vegetation that can reduce your watering needs by 60 to 70% compared to bare soil gardening. The large leaves of squash, cucumber, and melon plants shade the soil and create humid microclimates that keep root zones cool and moist, even during hot weather. Meanwhile, you can enhance this natural water harvesting by designing simple, passive systems that capture and direct rainfall exactly where your plants need it. Swales and berms along contour lines catch runoff and allow it to soak into the soil instead of flowing away. Mulch basins around individual plants or plant clusters create mini reservoirs that hold moisture from rain and irrigation. Here's what nobody tells you about soil building and polyculture systems. You don't need to make compost in a separate pile and haul it to your garden beds. The plants themselves become your composting system through what's called chop and drop management. Instead of removing plant material, you cut it and leave it in place to decompose directly where your plants need the nutrients. When you trim herbs, cut back perennials, or harvest leafy greens, that organic matter becomes immediate mulch and long-term soil improvement. But this is where the system becomes truly self-regulating. The diverse root systems are continuously adding organic matter to different soil depths as roots die and regrow throughout the growing season. The different types of roots, fibrous, taproot, and branching, create different soil structures that improve drainage, aeration, and nutrient cycling. Here's how you start implementing this system regardless of your space constraints. If you're working with traditional garden beds, begin by establishing a polyculture guild around one existing plant. Add nitrogen-fixing beans or peas, aromatic pest-deterrent herbs, and ground-covering plants that provide living mulch. If you have HOA restrictions, design container polycultures using large pots or raised beds where tall plants provide structure for climbers while herbs and greens fill the understory. Start saving seeds from your most productive plants instead of buying new ones every season. This creates genetic adaptation to your specific growing conditions and eliminates your dependence on commercial seed suppliers. Open-pollinated varieties of beans, peas, tomatoes, peppers, and herbs will develop characteristics that work perfectly in your particular microclimate and soil conditions. Stop buying solutions to problems your design created. Design a garden that works with natural plant relationships instead of against them. The goal is building a food production system that gets easier to maintain and more productive every year, instead of requiring constant inputs and intervention. Your weekends belong to you,